In the year 2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee. Bro, just learn to code. The Project Freedom Podcast.
Boom. I'm Josh from ELP, and welcome to the Project Freedom Podcast, episode number 9, where we discuss anything and everything that has to do with sovereign individuality and being free. Tonight I got Fido in the house again, and topic for the night, Fido, which I've already told you, is permissionless. And I guess I could just start with you, man. So when someone says, hey, I want to live a permissionless lifestyle, or I want my life to be permissionless, I think it kind of has a bad connotation, right? Because it would just, some people would assume that means hey, I want the permission to literally do whatever the fuck I want, right? Which I guess in essence, in a small part, yeah, I do want permission to do what I want, right? Because me personally, I value freedom over anything. But that being said, I value freedom over anything as long as that freedom isn't going to negatively impact someone else, right? So if I want to make a selfish decision and I want to be self-centered and I want to do something that's, hey, this is my life, my body, my money. If I want to call JG Wentworth 877 cash now, then I want to call him, right? And I don't want someone to tell me hey, you can't call JG Wentworth 877 cash now. But obviously, and the reason why I said it has a negative connotation is obviously because, if I want to go and just burn houses on fire, that's not the type of permissionless ability that I'm talking about. Because of course, because it affects people, right? People would die and people's houses would be burnt to crisp, right? So that's what I mean by permissionless lifestyle. But I think that the way that it sounds to some people is just kind of negative off the rip, right? So I want to ask you, what do you think? What does that mean to you? Because I know that you also fancy yourself as one who likes to live a permissionless lifestyle. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of funny because the technology, because the technology that's going on now kind of echoes the lifestyle that, and for me, I think what it is being able to come and go as you please, right? That's how short and succinctly, being able to come and go as you please. You can go do whatever you want within the framework of, I think you put it in the right framework of hey, I just want to be able to go and do my thing. I want to go and be able to do my goals. I want to just be able to go. If I want to go to another country, I could go to another country. If I want to stay here, I could stay here. But it's pretty much, being able to do what you want while being left alone would be kind of the underlying framework that I would say for the most part.
Yeah, I think I like that part of being left alone the most, right? Because perfect example, okay? They had a bunch of propaganda right now going on for people to come back into the office and be a good boy, and your office family misses you, yada yada yada. And after people realize that they could actually work from home, they don't want to have to go back into the office, right? And they just want to be left alone. All they want to do is they want to do their job, and they want to be left alone. They don't want to have to be included in this thing that was never originally part of their intention for going to work there in the first place, right? And
yes.
There shouldn't be anything wrong with wanting to be left alone, right?
Yeah, no, nothing at all. And I think it's actually you're actually asking. You're not asking for a whole lot. I mean, in fact, you're actually not asking for anything, right? You're asking the opposite of anything. You're pretty much, yeah, exactly. You're pretty much just saying, look, man, I'm completely cool with whatever you want to do on your side of the fence within your parameters. You can do whatever you want, just like I want to be able to do whatever I want within my side of the fence, And here's the other thing too: it's living a life when you had mentioned this concept, I started thinking about kind of this, where it's like living a life without checkpoints, right? So living a life where you don't have to like verify everything that you do as, hey, look, this is me over here doing this thing. Like it's me. Like I mean, we could go into the technology a little bit here too, where you can, you don't have to be like, you don't have to be throwing your data around everywhere that you go to, right? You have the flexibility to kind of like, hey, look, if I want to be low key, I want to be low key. And then like, look, I pay my taxes at the end of the year, like just don't fuck with me kind of deal, or just don't mess with me, excuse me. But I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And honestly, man, like, everybody, you have to pay your taxes. That's just the world that we live in nowadays. But ideally, it would be something more along the lines of like, if I want to pay taxes, I should have the freedom to choose to do so, right? Which just goes back to the old no taxation without representation, right? Because people had to come to a consensus to agree upon whether or not everyone would pay a certain tax or not for X, Y, and Z. And it's not like that anymore, is it? Basically, pretty much everyone now is forced to pay taxes for anything and everything that they're told to, and if not, the IRS will come after you. They'll literally beat you up, and they'll make your life a living hell, right? So we're not permissionless with that, even though that was one of the founding principles of this country was go back to the Boston Tea Party, right? So yeah, that's just another thing with icing on the cake. Let's take a look at the chat real quick. Marcus says, "Yo." Osa Chain says, "Daily dose of orange pill emojis in the chat, guys." Wait, Emery says, "What is up?" Nick Sledge says, "Let's go." And he says, "I really want to know how much one Bitcoin will be when a Big Mac is $1 million. Man, good question, Nick. Probably like I don't know. Let's see. Bitcoin right now is like $33,000. So if you factor that out, that's like 30. That's like, how many trips to McDonald's is that? Do you factor in gas and a Big Mac meal? That's like, I don't know, 33,000 trips to McDonald's. No, probably 66,000 trips to McDonald's, 126,000 trips to McDonald's. I don't even know. Max Ignita says, "The Handsome Dev Podcast." Yes, indeed, baby. Nick Sledge also says, "Escape the school/prison mindset." Max says, ever had your parents beg you to visit after day one? They take you for granted being there. Same with quote unquote office family. Yeah, for sure. 100%, man. 100%. Back to the office family topic, like, part of the whole permissionless thing, or at least one part of it, is having a job being something that you do and not something that you have, right? I know you understand what that means, but could you kind of like maybe explain what's the difference between having a job that you do and having a job that you have?
Yeah. I would say, and then I guess just correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's just kind of like when you have a job that you do, you show up there, you get your work done. You don't have to involve yourself with the after work parties. You don't have to like go get beers with your coworkers, because you're especially if you're under contract, you're pretty much there to like do a sweep up job, and you don't have to deal with any of like I would go so far to say the political nuance of, corporate culture, which I think it saves so much time, because to be quite honest, when we all look, most people, I think when they look deep down in their hearts, like they kind of know it's all BS, like the corporate culture, all that stuff. It's pretty much BS. And everybody, the reality is, hey man, I really needed a job, and they hired me, and then just to play along, people will do that. But it's, it is what it is.
Yeah. So I pretty much agree with that. And the only thing to me, I think the biggest difference between a job being something that you do and something that you have is that, people like nowadays, they have a job, they attach their identity to this job, right? So like, if someone is an accountant in whatever company, like that's their identity, because for the most time, most of these people, especially the wagey wojaks that are going in to the office on a regular basis, like they're spending 8 or 9 hours a day in the office, and then another 1 to 2 hours a day driving. So that's like, there's 24 hours in a night or 24 hours in a day. and then you sleep like 6, 7, 8 hours a night. So like 70%, I mean, you get Saturday and Sunday, but like 70% of your week is like spent inside of this office area doing this job, where you're basically trading your time for money. And so I think that people attach their identity to that. And I think that's what it means when people say that they have a job. But I think doing a job is more along the lines of like, so you are an independent free person, and you live your life on your terms. And, a job that you do is you're doing something based off of a skill that you have. And if you want to work X amount of time, you can. If you don't want to work, then you don't, right? So
Yep.
obviously not everyone has the means to do that, right? You need to be able to be sovereign enough to have your life, sorted out to where like, hey, if I want to like not work for 6 months out of the year, or if I want to work one month on, 1 month off, 1 month on, 1 month off, you better be able to have enough capital in order to do that. And how do you acquire that much capital to do that? Well, like, you need to have skills that people are going to pay you for things that you do, as opposed to like just your time. Because if you end up, and plus you have to save and do all these other things too, but if you end up just having like a regular job where people pay for your time, that's never going to be the case. And I know I kind of like blabbered on a little bit right there, but that's what actually, Osachain just said something that exactly what I'm talking about. I am an accountant versus I do accounting. Yeah, exactly. So like to have that job is their identity versus that's a skill that they have that they can go and do in order to monetize, right?
Yep. And I think.
Go ahead.
No, it's all good, man. You're rolling, bro.
I already forgot what I was gonna say, but I think I was gonna say that's just like that's what I think is like the biggest takeaway from that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things that you mentioned there that stuck out to me is that being skilled, having a skill to bring to the table gives you so much more leverage in anything that you do. Because if you're a skillless worker, I mean, what can you come to the table with, right? Because when you have that skill, right? When you have that technical skill, especially if it's like a hard technical skill, right? And you come to the table and you say, okay, well, you can remove me from this position, but I've essentially have a dictionary of knowledge of how all of your systems work. And if you replace me, you're going to lose all of that. You know what I'm saying? So in some cases, you need me. You know what I'm saying? And that's that kind of scenario, that leveraging. I came from a situation where I didn't have any of that leveraging power, right? When I worked in the food service industry, you're just like the lowliest of lowly slaves. I mean, it's a form of modern day slavery. I'm just being honest. And because of that, it's just so the contrast is just so stark to me, where I realize the future belongs to people that have skills and that can leverage those skills, so. Yeah,
for sure. And another thing, I think you're 100% speaking the truth there. Another thing too, not just that they would need you. It's also like, because you have a monetizable skill that is different from the majority of people, right? You don't need them because you can just go elsewhere, especially for jobs like trade jobs, right? So, I mean, if you're a plumber, someone's always going to need to poop, right? And if you have literal shit coming out of your toilet, doesn't matter if the person who you're going to be quote unquote working for is a billionaire. You can be like, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to charge you like $1,200 for an inspection, and then like whatever the fuck I want, unless you just want poop to be coming out of your toilet. Because at that point, you don't need them. They need you. You have this skill that everyone's always going to need, right? Same thing goes for like electricians and power linemen. Exactly. And of course, our job, software engineering and software development, and pretty much anything in IT too. It's more of like, it's a skill that everybody is always going to need. Everyone always needs computer. Everyone always, and what runs on computers? Software. Everyone always has problems with software. Everyone always needs new software to be created to automate things and to make their lives easier. Everybody needs software bugs fixed regularly. So like, if they want to continue to use these things, they're going to need someone to do that, right? And if that person doesn't want you anymore, then guess what? There's an abundance of people out there that do want you, right? So yeah,
That's correct.
Another thing, I guess, like what is so if you had in your mind your goal to live permissionlessly, like what would be the point of that to you, you think?
Just to live without so much external pressure. Not, and I don't mean like life in and of itself is just like this intense phenomenon that we all go through that inherently has its ups and downs, right? So I'm not talking about like that kind of pressure. I mean, if we're talking about that, the challenges will persist regardless of wherever you go in the world. You know, that's it's it, or that's not gonna change. Talking about more of kind of reverting it back to the first thing that we were talking about, which is just being left alone. So, I mean, in the United States, you know, it doesn't take too much to know that we are being like, you know, kind of shot at with programming on a consistent basis, right? And the thing is that the mind is a very soft and malleable thing, right? So the things that come into you allow into your head end up actually manifesting into your reality, and not in some like ooey gooey kind of like crystal type of way, but in reality, I think that is a functionality of how we a functionality of how we work as an organism, is that the things that come into our mind end up being some way, somehow, the things that we end up procuring in our life, in our physical realm, right? So so with that being said, if we're in an environment that is marinating in negativity, and the programming of that environment is inherently negative, then that means that what you're getting hit at on a regular basis is just rapid fire of negativity all around you. So if you're a positively oriented person and you want to say, okay, I don't want to live that way, well, then that means that you're consistently having to fight this battle of, turning off the TV, not watching certain ads, not watching certain channels, not listening to certain music, not even involving yourself with certain people, not involving yourself with particular conversations. And what's fear to most of these things orient themselves around? They orient themselves around negative things. And that's what the United States has become. That's what the United States has become. It's just a ball of, to keep it simple, it's become a ball of negativity, and it's just a constant warfare in your psychological warfare to stay straight on your path and just be positive, and that hits with the one thing about Permissionless that we talked about, which is I just want to be left alone, and if you're not, maybe I don't have a guy coming at me trying to stab me, but if every time I look at my phone, if every time I go out, I just see I'm just surrounded by negativity, then at some point it starts infringing on my space,
Yeah. I totally agree with you. The being left alone part, as cynical as it might, even though it sounds cynical off the bat, it's really not. Like, if I want to live anywhere in the world, all right, and I'm giving benefit of myself by being there, then I shouldn't have to, have permission to like, oh, I need to get like a probe up my butthole before I can get on this plane, or like I need to like sign all these papers. I need to go beg this country's bank to like allow me to put my money in there and to use their bank system. Like, why would I? It's like, look, you have one fucking life to live, right? You have one life, okay? Regardless of what you think or what people believe, like after you die, this life that we're currently in right now is over, right? Okay, let's just say, you believe in Christianity, and you think that, you're going to go to either heaven or hell or purgatory, right? Or let's just say that you believe in reincarnation, you get reincarnated into something else, right? Or let's just say that you believe that there's literally nothing after, right? Or that you land with, you go into the sea with a bunch of flying spaghetti monsters. Like, regardless of what you think, the one that we currently are in ends, right? So why would I spend my life having to ask permission to live my life for other people, when other people, entities, countries, governments, when they do absolutely nothing for me? Absolutely nothing, right? I guess the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm sure, the governments do things for some people. I'm not one of those people that I don't get any of those benefits, right? But let's just say, one thing that you could expect them to do is like defend you if there was an invasion of another tribe, right? But like if I have firearms, if me and all people in my tribe have firearms, do we even need them? In fact, they would probably most likely need us to help them, right?
Yep.
So other than that, and that's the only argument you can make for
That's
that,
correct.
in my opinion. Like they don't fix infrastructure. They just take money from you. They don't do anything for you. They give you very poor free schooling, which isn't even free. They propagandize you. They put you into a certain kind of mindset, and they put all kinds of rules and regulations on you. And every single year, every single day that passes, they take away more of your freedom. And so why would I spend my life adhering to that when I know that I only have one life to live, right? It seems like that would be the most logical thing to do, right? So
That's
to me,
correct. Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, to me, that's like the least logical thing that you could do in that case would be to, like, you know, give up all of yourself for an entity that does nothing but take from you, and then, you know, you look back on your deathbed and you're like, how much life did I lose because of that, right? So,
Yeah.
I guess what another thing too is, like, it's pretty apparent because of the media and everything that's going on, and just how boomers talk and think that that the quote unquote old world does not want us to, like, live like that, right? They kind of want to keep us the way that we are, right? They want us to be exactly the way they want that they want us to be, right? They don't want us to make our own decisions. They don't want us to have any sort of semblance of freedom, even though we have, like, quote unquote freedom, but it seems to be like a fake. Obviously, it's like a fake freedom, right? It's like a false bravado, and like, oh, everything's so great and free, but it's really not. At least not anymore. So, like, why do you think that that's the case? Why do you think that they don't want us to live a sovereign life? Do you think it's because maybe because that would be reflection on themselves, and they would say, like, oh, I didn't do that, so that would, like, I didn't do that, and so if this person does that, that's going to make me feel bad because I have to look at myself in the mirror and realize that, like, I was asleep? Or do you think it's because they need us to be like that so they can harness us like plow horses, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you were talking, it reminds me kind of like the metaphor for this is like it's kind of cliche at this point, but, you know, in the movie Matrix, where, like, Neo wakes up from his pod, right? And essentially when he wakes up from the pod, he's like, oh, like, he's all freaked out, right? But then when you extrapolate that out and you actually look at, like, what system that he's in, it's like essentially all of these humans that are being harvested for their energy to essentially power whatever system they're a part of, right? At that time, it's the machines, right? But it's the same thing for us. It's like we're kind of like, I hate to say it, but we're quasi livestock, right? We're quasi livestock. But the thing is that the human mind is more intelligent than your average, you know, cow, you know. But so what? In order to, the other thing that you mentioned, just to kind of illustrate this point, is the rug pull that is freedom in the United States, right? Because we have the illusion of saying, hey, you have freedom, you have freedom, you have freedom. But you start to look around and you're like, okay, wait, hold on. And what you realize is that like livestock, instead of our borders being fences that, for example, like the farmer sets up, our borders are psychological, right? So they implant these limitations of what's possible, what's not possible. The I have a job, that mindset is implanted into us from when we're young of, okay, cool. Like, I'm just going to follow this just beaten path that everybody else is following, and I'm going to do it because I don't know, everybody else is doing it, so why not me, right? Everybody, right. So they play on the things that inherently make us human in order to essentially program us into a position that benefits them. Now, a question as to why they do that, I think that's a whole other can of worms. But the fact that we're being played, I mean, after some time, just becomes obvious to those who are privy to it. You know,
we're definitely being played, right?
Yeah, super bad. So yeah, it kind of just comes down to, but then that's kind of where our argument goes of why this permissionless, like this framework is like becomes such a like liberating and almost cathartic, uh um almost like a cathartic thing to discuss and to think about on a regular basis, because we want, it's essentially, it's an aspiration. If it's not already attained, it's an aspiration to something that's a complete opposite of what I just described, right? It's actually being the drive. What I like to say is that when you wake up from that livestock type of existence, when you wake up from that, you get that initial shock of holy shit, what's like all of this stuff around me, right? It's like you could finally tell you, it's like your life starts to illuminate itself in color, right? Whereas to maybe perhaps back in the day it was like black and white. Now you start to, all these little details start to radiate in life, and it becomes very luminous. Initially you go through that initial shock, but after that, what you end up realizing, and what ends up being scary for a lot of people, is that you actually get to be in the driver's seat of your life, right? And that freaks a lot of people out, because in some ways, we kind of want to cling to that guidance of our parents, and in this case maybe the government. Like we want to feel like there's like this shelter protecting us so that we don't have to take inherent risk in our life. But when we come out of that livestock situation, and in some ways that's the life of livestock, right? They're protected, they're fed, they're catered to in some ways, but they never get the freedom and the luxury. Like I get to say, they never get to be out in the wild, right? They never get to be out in the wild, roaming the pastures, whatever, but the thing is that when you're out in the wild, nature is metal, right? So like things could go bad. Things could definitely go bad in when you're out in the wild. But the exchange is, okay, I'm going to take just a little bit more risk, get in the driver's seat of my life, but at an exchange for that, I also get my freedom, right? And that's why we almost have these like connotations in when we communicate, where it's like, oh, you can kind of tell that these dudes realize that the consequences of these decisions mean ultimately that we're going to die, really, and the thing is that's a fact. That's not debatable. That's not of a case of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, right? So because we know that, then we say, okay, well, if that's the biggest thing that can happen, then I'd rather be freedom. I'd rather be free with the possibility of that happening than start being livestock, knowing that that's going to happen, right? And it's just, I feel like I'm kind of loosening the argument there is kind of getting loose towards the end there. But what do you think about that?
No, I agree. And the thing about the livestock as well is they die too, right? And they don't get to die the way that they want to die. They die being harvested and eaten, right? So, if it comes between that and having to be responsible for my actions, and I get to live permissionlessly with that, I'd choose the latter, 10 times over, right? So, right. All right, we've defined all these things so far, right? I agree with you on the whole. It's a whole nother can of worms as to why the old world doesn't want us to live permissionlessly. Maybe we can talk about that later or another time. But let's just say you do want to live permissionlessly. Let's just say you do want that sovereign lifestyle. You want freedom. You want to be able to be a human, a living, breathing, animated human being. What do you think is required for someone to do that? Think about like yourself, like with the steps that you kind of took. That's pretty much how it goes, right? Like you have to earn that right to be permissionless, right? You don't just get born permissionless, right? Even if you were born in the Amazon jungle, like eventually someone would find you and they would bring you back, right? you need to like grow up into an adult and become intelligent enough to craft that life for yourself. So what do you believe are the things that someone needs to be permissionless, and then the steps that they have to take in order to like get there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think hunger. I mean, I think you have to have the hunger. Well, first you have to know that you're being restricted. So if you know, yeah, exactly. You have to become aware that you're getting played, right? Or that you're one of those humans in like those pods in the Matrix. Once you know that, and you can kind of survive the all the reconfiguration that has to happen in your psychology in order to just manage being a human being. After you get past that phase, then you have to have the hunger to get out of that situation, right? And what really, I think it's like a slow boil that ends up becoming so overbearing eventually that you realize that you actually have no other option but to escape, or else you're done, right? So that I would say that what I would say is like that hunger of reminding yourself, holy crap, I'm actually like trapped here, so therefore I have to like work to get untrapped, right? And that's when that kind of lights up the fire there, right? And then once that's the case, then the rest of it ends up becoming easier, right? Because if you have it in your gut that you say, okay, look, if I don't make this happen, there's going to be a consequence, and that consequence is that I'm not going to be able to be free, right? And that's a huge consequence to pay to live a restricted life, especially as a man. I think inherently there's something in our DNA that we aspire to this like sense of freedom. It's inherent in all of us, one way or another. We're all just like a different manifestation of this desire to want to be more free, right? And yeah, so it's once that fire is lit, then where we always talk about, Josh, is we live in a very opportune time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we live in an extremely opportune time. So that once that hunger kicked in, then I realized, I was like, all right, well, what do I want? What do I need? Okay, so I said, okay, well, I need a skill that's going to be relevant for the future. And then I said, okay, well, programming, development. All right, cool. Well, where do I learn that? Oh, there's this crazy thing called the internet, and I could do it off of, my local machine. I could do it off of my computer. Holy crap. It's all here, like it's all there. It's all there. It's just the willingness to want to connect those dots and realize that holy moly, like it's kind of a weird paradox where we're restricted, but the tools for our freedom are within our reach and we can go out and get them, but it requires a little bit of creativity to connect those dots. And then once those dots are connected, the work ethic to follow through with it. Right. So, I mean, if it's a matter of once you become aware, after that, it's just kind of not being lazy, I think is a big part of it. Or what would you say about that?
Yeah, dude, I think in 2021, you have no excuse to be uneducated, right? I mean, there's plenty of resources out there. Like, let's just talk about coding, for example. I mean, you can even if it is hard, you can do it on your own, right? It might take some time, or you could join one of the groups like our group, like Developer Direction, and have people that you're giving money to help you who have been there and done that before, right? Or you could take, and this isn't necessarily like the best path anymore. And I honestly think this is probably the worst thing you could do. But if you really, really wanted to, if you took out loans for college, at the very least, you're like at least trying to learn, right? Or you could just start working somewhere and then like try to like, ask for more things, more tasks to do that are like related to the thing that you want, right? Or want to learn. And you could just leverage that to learn. And that's not just with programming, that's with anything, like especially like Developer Direction. Like that's for like programming and IT. There's so many other groups out there that have people who are experienced that teach people in exchange for money to like help them, right? People who have been there and done that, help them shortcut that, because we have the internet now, right? So like, literally anything you want to learn. If you want to learn about like cryptocurrency, right, like there's the crypto mindset course, right? If you want to learn about dating or like getting your life together as a man, there's Modern Life Dating and the MEN network, right? And like none of these things would be possible without the internet, right? Plus on top of that, there's fucking YouTube, and there's unlimited free books out there too. So like, there's no excuse not to be educated in 2021. So I totally agree with that. And yeah, I think part of it is, if you want to live permissionlessly, like you have to be you have to have that sovereign nomadic ability, right? And so, you want to be able to have a skill that's nomadic, right? You don't want to be dependent off of one company. You want to have a skill that if you go to a different country or different city or different town, someone's always going to need you. So for example, like we said earlier, plumber, right? Everyone's always going to need a fucking plumber to fix the shit that's coming out of the toilet, right? No matter where you go. I mean, unless I guess you go to like, I don't know, some third world country that doesn't have toilets. But if you were in that country, you'd have a lot more problems to worry about than like getting some income, right? And I also think another thing is like having a plan to get yourself there. So yeah, you definitely need that fire, like you said, and then you need to have a skill. You need to be working on or towards a skill that's nomadic in nature, and then you need to have a plan of how you're going to be able to like handle your finances, handle the way that you're going to even if you have that skill already, how are you going to handle like getting income from it? How are you going to handle printing money with it, right? Essentially. Yep. How are you going to move around from place to place? How are you going to be able to just have those freedoms? Like you need to have a plan as well, right? Yep. So I agree with everything you said. I just also think that, you know, having the skills, and I think you mentioned that too, but then also like the plan of like being able to be nomadic. And look, just because, you know, like the whole nomad capitalist digital nomad thing, just because you have the option to go from place to place doesn't mean that you have to do that, right? Right. But the point is, if something goes down and you don't want to be with the place where you're at, you know, you should have the ability to just leave like that if you want to, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's lucrative just in its functionality. Like I can't tell you how many times I'm in coffee shops and it kind of freaks people out because they're like, oh shit, like this guy's at work. You know, like he just showed up, but he's at work. You know, he's like taking meetings and he's just like chilling here, sitting in this coffee shop, and it's like. It feels amazing, man. I'm not going to lie. Like it feels really good to be like, man, I just essentially did what I needed to do to make money today. And I have to go off. I wore like some swag jacket, you know, got to, you know, put on my earring, like just like, and I didn't have to like, you know, you're in the meetings, and when you're in the meetings, you're professional, of course. But outside of that, I mean, you get so much more control over your life. And that's the thing. It's like you have to kind of also want to have that control over your life, or you have to want to be in the driver's seat of your own life, right? The proverbial you, right? It's just that's the thing. It's like some people don't actually want that, or if they do, they're kind of afraid of it. You know, I always say that the nomadic lifestyle, or the lifestyle where you're going around, you're different places, all that stuff. It requires you a certain amount of courage because you're consistently interacting with new people. You know, you're chatting. Maybe you meet a stranger. You know, chat up the stranger, cool. You know, maybe not, but it's a very external facing lifestyle. And I think for me it works because I'm inherently an introvert, right? I mean, the whole concept for that side concept for permissionless of being left alone. It's quite serious. I mean, I have to go through periods where I just don't talk to people because I like people kind of annoy me. But I don't mean that negatively in a negative way. But inherently, I mean, there's just features about humanity that I don't vibe. Like we don't always vibe, but that's fine because what I do is I do my little, I get into my little geek corner, do my little geek stuff, and then I feel refreshed from that. I actually feel refreshed from solitude at times. And then I can go back into the world. But for me, I was so internal. I was so introverted growing up that I aspired to this external facing lifestyle so that I can get out of my shell. And that's worked really well. The thing is you just get tired. You just get tired of people. You just get tired of people, and you want to come back and you want to kind of just like have like a quiet 3 evenings to yourself, just to be able to do your work, not having to talk to a soul, not having to go drive your car into like traffic, you know, like all those like little details that like are just annoying about society, just inherently. Yeah, what do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about that. Like, the least amount of interaction I can have with people, the better for me, right? Because I just have, man, I really don't want to be like disrespectful, but like I have the tiniest amount of respect for the average person, just none, like hardly any anymore, dude. And like, rightfully so, man. Because. I mean, at least the way that I feel and believe about life, all these people don't even, it's as if they like, and I don't know if it's because people are just dumb or uneducated, or they just, that whole thing where ignorance is bliss, but it's like these people are like, it's sunny and 75 outside, right? and it's clear blue sky. There's not a cloud in sight, right? So it's deep blue colored sky, right? And it's like you go outside and you look up and you see that the sky is blue, right? And everyone is around. They're like, you're like, hey, isn't the sky is so blue and pretty today? They're like, what? No, the sky's red. Yeah, no, that's what they told us. The sky is red. So like, can't you tell that it's red? No, like, but like seriously, have you looked up? Have you seen that it's actually blue? No, I never looked, but I just know that it's red because, you know, the president told me so, right? And so like, they have so many things that people can't see that are just so obvious and apparent that if someone doesn't see those things, it's two reasons. One, they're incredibly stupid, which I don't think is the case, right? And that would be an excuse. That would be an excusable reason. It would be slightly excusable, right? Or two, they're just ignorant. And since I believe that it's a majority of the second, that most of these people are just ignorant, that's why I can't respect ignorant people, dude. I just can't. And so, yeah, the least amount of interaction I can have with just like the average normie, like the better. You know, everyone wears the thing over their mouth when they go outside, the thing over their mouth. I don't think I have one anymore, but you know, the real reason why you're supposed to wear that is so that you don't breathe the normie air, right? Not so you can't get sick, but it's so you don't get sick from the normie air. At least that's the reason why I used to wear it. But yeah, I echo that, dude. I echo that for sure. So, man, we went over a lot of stuff.
And then there's like, go ahead.
Keep going, dude. Keep going. I was just saying we were going over a lot of stuff. I was losing track of what we already talked about. Talking about a lot.
For sure, man. It's been a really good flow here. And then one of the things I was gonna say is just like the lack of basic decency is a big one for me. Where it's like, man, I don't need to like you, but we are both cohabiting in exchange of space here. So let's just like be decent, right? Let's be decent human beings. And that's just out of the window. There's not a lot of decency left. Of course, that's a generality. There's always exceptions to that, but I mean, look around. Not a lot of decency left. So not just that, but half of the conversations that you have are just intellectually dull, right? So you get out of the conversation, you're like, wow, that was actually a complete waste of my time because we didn't talk about anything of substance. I don't feel like I've advanced any of my thought processes. Of my the way that I view the world hasn't advanced in any way, shape, or form. That was just a complete pointless conversation. And if you sit in a coffee shop and if you take the time to whatever you're plugged into, just take the time to take the headphones off and then just peep on somebody's conversation. I'm just going to be honest. I just can't believe that those certain conversations are had. I'm like 35 minutes, 45 minutes talking about absolutely nothing. You're no better for that, all of that time spent. But I mean, certain situations with like girls, so that it's not about this; it's about how they, So, but it's
girls and guys too, dude.
It's just pointless. It's pointless, Yeah, exactly. It's just pointless. I'm like, what are you guys doing on? Yeah, you're just getting drinks. Cool, that's awesome. But what's going? Like, do you not realize that this world is falling apart around you? Where's the innovation? Where's the desire, the drive to move us forward as human beings? Has that just died off? It has.
Like, yeah, the thing,
man, like there's like
100%
these problems. Exactly.
I think you got a little bit of a lag, so I think you're slightly behind me. So every time I think you hear me 3 seconds after I talk, and I think I hear you. It's all good though. But what you just said about how you're like these people are like the world, like Jesus people, the world is like literally falling apart around you. Like where is innovation? Big point, dude. Because like everyone, even though they want to portray that they're selfless, everyone is so incredibly selfish. And so us who want to live a sovereign lifestyle, us want to live permissionless, they're going to come and tell us that we're selfish when at least we're at least overt about it, right? We're at least honest and overt, right? And a lot of times, dude, the people that are permissionless, the amount of positive benefit that they have given to society far outweighs any of these other fake selfish people or fake selfless people, right?
Huge, because you live a life of desired result, right? And in that result, the reverberations of your outcomes start changing people around you simply by your actions. Like, for example, when I got this, when I became, when I officially got crowned as a software engineer, right, as a professional software engineer, that kind of stuff, where I remember my family saw me through the dungeons, like everybody saw me and I was even getting questions of, hey, is he crazy? Because he doesn't like take his eyes off of the computer, all this crazy stuff, right? But all of a sudden I get the success, and then everybody's like, oh my gosh, like what? Not necessarily the admiration aspect of it, but it kind of puts a cheat in their thought patterns where they're like, wait, I didn't even know that it was possible to be able to do it, that like kind of deal. Like, I didn't know you could actually do that, right? And those kind of effects are the things that I live for, because it makes such a difference. Because I'm like, all right, well, that means that in every conversation I'm in, I'm shifting people's minds then, because maybe they had a limitation of thinking, well, I have to go to college or I have to go through a boot camp, but now because they met somebody, right, and they see that it's physically tangible, that there's a reality in which you can be a human being that can self-teach themselves how to program and then become a professional developer based off of that with no formal education in that field. That changes. It's the concept we always talk about, Josh, where it's like, if you see the Lamborghini, you can touch the Lamborghini. That means you can have the Lamborghini, right? So it's it's kind of like that.
At that point, you're just, if you can see it and you can touch it, you're just one step away from having it, right?
Boom. There you go. And that effect in and of itself is important. And I think it's a value, because you say, well, all right, well, by me doing good in my life, that means I have this reverberating effect around me that is much more substantial than any political movement, right? Or than any like, bah, 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 bah. It's like, it's none of that. Yeah, exactly. It's not just this like blabber and virtue signaling of, hey, I'm like, guys, look at how virtuous I am. Like, it's like, bro, come on, get out of here, bro. Like, come on. Who are you playing with that? I mean, a lot of people apparently, but the reality is that the substantive stuff, the stuff that really like you could tell it like hits people, and they're like, oh, all right, cool. I noticed that this is something different, is the stuff that you can prove through action. Right, through behaviors. You say, well, okay, this dude's legitimate because that's the guy, like that he did that thing, And I know, I'm sure I get better thing. What do you think about that?
I agree, man. I have literally zero disagreements with anything that you said at all. A lot of things. Okay, so like, I know you're in there too. Charlie and Miguel from Crypto Mindsets, their webinar is like last night. They were talking about the amount of return that you can get off of just making the right strategic moves is like, you could make minimum. I mean, the lower the amount of money you put in, the harder this is going to be. But you can go from like a $10,000 to like $70,000 investment to $1 million in one cycle. And like, think about that, dude. Like, and for you to go and tell people, like, for you to go and tell a normie who hasn't known that this technology existed other than just what the news has told them, right, for, I don't know, 1 year, to tell somebody that that's possible to a normie, they're like, they don't believe you, right? I told you that the girl that I speak to, I told her again yesterday, I was like, Bitcoin is going to be $100,000 for the end of the year, and she's like, you're fucking crazy, like. You work too much. Your work's making you fucking crazy. I'm like, no, like that concept that's possible. That things other than what the news and schools tell you are possible, people just cannot accept it. Right? People just cannot accept the fact that it could be a possibility that Crab 19 was all just made up and pretend for some agenda. The fact that people can't believe that there could possibly be people out there on the planet who are wealthy and powerful enough to change history and rewrite history the way that they want it, so they can get an agenda passed, right? That thought to people that's just the kind of stuff in movies that would never happen, even though we can look back in history and see that that's happened over and over again, right? Just these things, anything that people aren't told inside of school, in the mainstream media, from the government, from their mom and dad, anything like that you just say something to the contrary, they can't even grasp their mind around it until they see it, until they physically see it, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, I agree with everything you said, 100%. Let me get caught up with the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Oso Chain says, permissionless lifestyle boils down to having true power, having control over your life and its direction. Yeah, dude. True power is, having the power of your own life. That is permissionless, right? Like me having the power of my life in my hands other than someone else, right? That's permissionless. And then having control of your life and the direction that you go. Yeah, dude. That's pretty, Osa Chain, that's a pretty base definition right there, my friend. Nick Sledgian says, they don't want you to live a sovereign life because you are a resource in all caps. Yeah, just like the livestock analogy, right?
Yep. Oof.
Antonio says, sub killers.
Sup, bro?
First step is accepting it.
Accepting it. Yep.
Just imagine if all these lefties invest their energy into self-improvement instead of protesting and expecting government handouts. Seems like they want to be controlled. Yeah, I mean, because the whole ignorance is bliss thing again, right? Like, what if they spent as much time being positive and bettering themselves and investing in themselves that they did complaining? It would be a completely different world we live in, right?
They have the energy, clearly, so.
Yeah, they have the energy, just getting misdirectioned. Yeah. Max says, it places greater distance between you and the normies at your company. Yep. Wade Emery says, the average person is an idiot, my opinion. Yeah, Wade, I don't think that's just an opinion, too. I didn't want to be a cynical asshole in the air, but, like, I mean, people can go look up, you guys can go to Google, right, and look up statistics. So Max also says, nah, I date girls to hear their criticism of Linux Marxist economics. I don't know if any of those exist, Max. Antonio says, you guys are a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Yeah, I forgot. Guys, I apologize again. I forgot the fucking tinfoil hat again. But, hey, I got these tonight. So how's that?
Hey.
You look like Neo now? I don't think he wore these kind of glasses, did he?
No, his were like more like just a little bit more like tight, you know? But you can make it work. You look good. You look like a handsome computer scientist.
Oh man, that's exactly what I was going for. I'm trying to see what kind of glasses he. They were like baseball glasses, right? Let's check this out real quick.
Who's the one who didn't have like the earpiece? It was Morpheus. He just had like the circles, but they didn't connect to his ear. Like I kept thinking, how does he do that? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think okay. So they all had different glasses. I know this is a waste of time in the air, but fuck it. I want to know now. I want everyone to see. I want you guys to see the truth. All right. All right, so can you guys see the screen? There. Yeah, so it looks like Neo kind of had like they're kind of like these are definitely aviators, all right? Morpheus had aviators. This kind of 90s. Look, this is those 90s glasses, dude.
Look at that.
This is those 90s glasses. I don't know what the fuck she's wearing. Trinity.
Those are some glasses.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we forgot the tinfoil hat again, so apologize for that, Antonio. But it will be back next time. I promise. If I can remember, not a promise, and almost a half promise. All right, Fido. Okay, so like, what do you think the future is going to be like with all this? Like, do you think? How about this? Do you think that there's going to be more people waking up and realizing that they need to be permissionless and that's what they want? Like, do you think more people are going to realize that they live in a society that is not permissionless and they're living a non-permissionless life, and that they're gonna try to go after that sovereign life? Or do you think that like what do you think?
I think that's a good one. I mean, I think if they do become aware of it, it's going to be too late, to be quite honest. Because by the time the Ferrari has become tangible and it's in front of them, it's already fully manifested into what it was going to be, right? So it's that would be the instance in which I see that they realize that, holy crap, we were getting played the whole time, and just that would be it. But that would be if it does happen at all, for them. It might not, and they might just continue, watching Rachel Maddow at whatever time Rachel Maddow comes on to just feed themselves with the same garbage that they're always feeding themselves with, right? I mean, to me, just the thing with the TV that I find really funny is that inherently that's just some outdated technology. So if you're still watching TV, I don't know what you're doing, what people are doing there. Like that's done. Like even just from a technological standpoint, that's some outdated prehistoric stuff, right? But either way, so I digress with that point. Where it's headed is I think that the people who are aware, like the people who desire to live that permissionless life, the people who desire that sovereignty, is that we're going to go to places and countries that cater to that lifestyle more, right? So which is inherently it's in our thought patterns now. We're thinking of where can we go that's going to treat me better for the lifestyle that I want to live. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that for many of us is going to be, who's going to help me, like, where can I have, like, how can I be of wealth and then not have to feel like there's a bunch of dudes trying to get in my pocket kind of deal, right? Like, I feel like that's going to be a big deciding factor for a lot of people moving forward, right? And then who's not going to chastise me for the lifestyle that I want, right? And really for the permissionless thing, it's who's going to leave me alone? Who's most going to leave me alone? I feel like that's going to be a big deciding factor, right?
I agree. I think here's what I think. I think that it'll be like the Pareto principle. Like I think, 20% of people are going to be, able to live permissionlessly, or the ones that are intelligent. The 20% of people who are intelligent enough to realize, like, hey, something's not right with how these things are, with how the world is in general. They're gonna fight as hard as they can towards living more permissionless, or living that permissionless lifestyle. If the current timeline continues in the way that it has in the last 2 years, and I think though that a lot of them are going to get shot down. I think it's going to get really hard. I think that the lizard people are going to try to really, really stomp that down really quick. And I think that the rest of other people, I think no one else is going to be like that. It's going to be a world of haves and haves nots. And it's like that divide is going to be even further. Like, I don't think there's going to be a middle class, dude. I really don't. I think the middle class is going to be kaput. Mostly because like the millennials and the Zoomers aren't having kids. Right.
Right.
So who are they going to leave anything to, and who's going to be left behind? And then the rest of them, they're going to be either like dependent. Like if you're like a 70-year-old cat lady dependent on the government, or you're like a 70-year-old dude, like, and you can't, you're working like a food service job, and you can't do that job anymore because you're like dying. Like you're going to need the government, right? You're not going to have even if 401ks are going to be like reliable source of like a retirement by then, which I don't think that they will, or Social Security, you're going to need the government, right? And so that's what I think, dude. I really, another conspiracy theorist, but I really think that technological unemployment is going to come real strong. Not like that meme, but yeah, it's going to come blow a lot of people away, dude. So like, if you don't have a skilled profession, like we said, like you got to have that skill where you can just pick up from place A to go to place B immediately. And like, guys, literally, like the skill you can have is to be you could have the skill set of a plumber, and people are always going to need you, right? Until robots can come and do that, but we're not close. We're more close to having software take over jobs than we are having robots take over jobs, right? So, I think there's going to be a huge divide, but I do think that the people that realize it are going to be working really hard on moving towards with what they want, right? And living that life. So yeah. Antonio says, instead of Morpheus, I'm getting the dude from the movie Grandma's Boy Kid vibes. Should I come dress as him next time too? Matt said the Archons? Is that Matt?
I think that is that from Star Trek.
Is that the lizard people? Oh, okay. Okay, so you know what? I know who Antonio is talking about now. I thought Antonio, that's the guy that's like, and he's got the black dude. He's basically got he's got the computer science coat, but it's black, dude. I used to love that character, Antonio. Completely forgot, dude. I completely forgot about that movie. Matt W says people will always need to do shower and shave. Plumbers will be there for them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, dude. So having that kind of skill, like, that's going to carry over anywhere, right? No government's going to come and be like, hey, let me take that skill out of your mind real quick, young man. I mean, I don't know, unless those things were like what's the FBI like from the MIB, like the flash thing. This looks like one.
And then you forget everything. It kind of does, yeah. It kind of does.
Yeah, here we go. You ready? All right, you guys all forgot everything you see. Here we go. There you go. Osa Chain says,
like
when is the next? Yeah. When is the next web dev course starting? Osa Chain, we're doing blockchain fundamentals from actually I was telling the guys in the group, let me pull up the schedule. I was trying to get my calendar to work. That one starts it's going to be, when is it? July 25th is the last day to enroll, and then it's going to start on July 27th, and that's going to be 8 weeks. The next web dev course, I don't know. But Osa Chain, I have a bunch of the web devs level ones from this one that we just did, pre-recorded and edited, and we're going to sell it for like a pretty low price point. And if you want to do that, dude, just grab that, and you can just, it's not going to be as helpful as like being in being in the group and like coming and talking and stuff like that. But it'll probably shoot you straight and save you more time than if you had wasted on the internet trying to figure it out. But you can DM me, Osa Chain. Max says, I can't tell if Josh is drunk or not when he's wearing sunglasses. I am drinking something in a can. Does anyone want to guess what it is? Bueller. It's not alcohol, guys. It's actually not alcohol this time. I'm drinking the low carb Monster Energy. So this one's got if this camera wants to focus, this one has 30 calories. Yeah, I think it's got like 8 grams of carbs, 9 grams of carbs, only 6 of sugar. I know it's not as good, quote unquote, as like clean as just like the literal zero one is, but dude, 30 calories is just negligible, and this one tastes far superior. It tastes a tad bit more authentic. So every time I can find one of these, I grab one, but I usually can't find these anymore because they have all those different kind of flavors of the zeros now. But I guess if you want to know the truth, I'm getting caffeine drunk. So Matt says, LOL, look up Ganachism sometime. My avatar is the Demiguri, aka the leader of the Archons. David Icke says those are the rulers of the elite lizard people or something. Didn't David Icke die? Is he dead? No, he's not dead, right? He's alive. Upside down 666 Unleash the Beast. Oh yeah. There you go, guys. There you go. It's coming, guys. Look, it's me. I am George Soros. Speaking of George Soros, I heard that dirty dog has a boomer coin or two. He must he must know that it's going to zero, right? He must know. Blue Monster is the best. Yeah, it's a good one. Fido, do you have anything else you want to say? Any kind of comments? Anything you think we missed out on? I think we hit the nail on the head pretty good with everything that we went over for this, but
yeah, no, I think so too. I think so too for sure. For this one, boom, right in there. So,
boom, fuck her right in the pussy. Ooh, all right, guys, don't forget. You see this right here?
Oh, awesome.
Can I get some orange pill emojis in the chat? Look, guys, I'm gonna type the orange pill. You guys can just copy and paste in the chat. If I can just get everyone to just copy and paste this orange pill emoji in the chat once or twice, I will love you guys. I will be eternally grateful if you guys can light this chat up with orange pills. You guys have no idea how much that will make me feel. It will make me feel like the greatest person on the planet. Please, guys, give me some orange pill emojis in the chat. If not, then I can't. Look, if you guys can't give some orange pill emojis in the chat, I'll never stream again. Thank you, Osa Chain. Orange pill emoji in the chat. Antonio, orange pill emoji in the chat. Yeah, guys, don't forget. Take your orange pills, okay? Just take them. You don't have to take them like a suppository, okay? I know people are afraid to take the suppository. The oral version is just as good, okay? The oral version is just as good. It's okay. You guys need to take these, okay? Listen to me, guys. Listen. Bitcoin is really not cool right now because it's going to zero, right? Everyone that was all super into it is all just everyone's quit. It's going to zero. It's a failure. It went from 64K to 30 to 28K. It's literally a fucking failure, right? Listen, guys, if you don't take this, and if you guys don't understand what the fuck is going on with our monetary system, you're gonna be that 80%, okay? Or it's gonna be a lot harder to be in that 20%, like we were talking about. I like to keep this as a joke as much as I possibly can, but I'm serious, guys. Like, I know this isn't an orange pill stream per se, but this is the Project Freedom podcast. We all know that the orange pill is indeed the embodiment of freedom. Look, I talked to, the reason I'm saying this is one of my friends from high school, and he watches my YouTube. I don't think he watches every single thing. I got him into crypto, like, I think starting like October of last year, right? And I basically just told him like the most beginner thing ever, like just buy ETH, right? The dude, he's made more money. He doesn't have a very high paying job. He's made 5 figures off of ETH, and he took profits when ETH was like $4,600. I didn't take any. I mean, I don't own any Ethereum. I don't own any of that crypto stuff. I used to, but then a pigeon. You guys see that balcony right there? A pigeon came into my apartment, and it took my laptop with my private keys and flew out. So I don't have any of that stuff anymore. But I did at the time when Ethereum was at its all-time high, and I didn't take any profits. And this dude, I was like, just do it. And then he took his profits, and he made enough money to buy back in the equivalent amount of ETH at its low. And at the same time, he was able to put a down payment on a new car. It's a family car because he has a 1-year-old daughter. So he knew that he could make money off of crypto, right? But he was talking to me today because he follows Modern Life Dating or How to Do Life on Instagram. He was talking to me today. He's like, hey, I saw something about like Federal Reserve. He's like, what does it mean to have more money in the Federal Reserve than in Bitcoin? I was like, do you know what the Federal Reserve is? He's like, yeah, it's like a bank account, right? And I was like, dude, no. And this isn't a grown adult. He's not dumb. He's not a dumb person. He's a normal person, right? But he didn't even know what the fuck the Federal Reserve is. And so, like, guys, if you can't figure that stuff out, if you guys can't see the blatant Ponzi scheme that is being used to enslave all of us, quite frankly, to enslave all of us in front of your fucking eyes, then you are going to be a part of that 80%, all right? So you need to take these. Look, I recommend the suppository, okay? It's more painful, but it's going to be a lot more effective if you just shove it up there, right? And then you're going to get the light stigmata out of your bumhole, just like Max Kaiser says. Apparently, Satoshi stigmata is just like light permeates from whatever orifice that the orange pill was put into. So that's all I got for tonight, guys. Max, 9 out of 10 doctors agree the orange pill increases the length of your orgasms by at least 25%. Yes, indeed. I'm out tonight, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on Monday. Cheers, fellas.